Hey everyone, and welcome back to the AnzenGuard Podcast. I'm Michael Reynolds.
And I'm Laura Wilson.
Today we're going to be diving into something that's probably made all of us a little frustrated at one point or
Oh,
another.
yeah, absolutely.
We're talking about geo-blocking.
That's right. You know that thing where you're trying to watch your favorite show or access a website and you get that dreaded message saying content not available in your region?
Ugh, it's the worst.
Yeah. So we've got a ton of articles here that we've been looking at, and we're going to try to unpack how geo-blocking works and, more importantly, how to maybe get around it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to give you the tools to break free from those digital borders.
That's right. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is geo-blocking?
Yeah. How does this thing even work?
Well, it all comes down to your IP address.
My IP address.
Yeah, you know that unique string of numbers that identifies your device on the internet.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that, but how does that play into geo-blocking?
Well, websites and online services use your IP address, kind of like a digital return address, to figure out where you're located.
So it's like they're snooping on our location.
In a way, yeah. And then they use that location information to decide whether to grant you access to their content or block you.
So if I'm in the wrong location, I'm out of luck.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like those virtual fences they put up around online content.
I see. But why would companies, even governments, want to do this in the first place?
Right, it seems counterintuitive. Why not just let everyone access everything?
Yeah, wouldn't they want the widest possible audience?
Well, there are actually several reasons, some more legitimate than others.
Okay, let's hear them.
One big reason is licensing agreements.
Ah, okay, so this is about legal stuff.
Exactly. Think about streaming services like Netflix or Spotify.
Yeah, I use those all the time.
They have contracts with studios, music labels, and publishers that dictate where they can and can't show their movies, TV shows, music.
So they're bound by these agreements.
Exactly. And they use geo-blocking to enforce those regional restrictions.
So it's not always Netflix being greedy. Sometimes it's just them trying to stay on the right side of the law.
Right. And another common reason is price discrimination.
Price discrimination.
Yeah, you've probably noticed that some products or services cost more or less depending on where you are in the world.
Oh yeah, like software subscriptions.
Exactly. Companies use geo-blocking to manage these different pricing tiers and prevent people from taking advantage of lower prices in other regions.
So it's a way to maximize their profits in different markets?
In a way, yeah, but it's not always about greed. Sometimes it's about tailoring content to specific audiences.
Okay, how so?
Well, imagine a website that sells winter sports gear.
Okay.
They might not want to show that same content to someone living in a tropical climate, right?
And that makes sense.
So they might use geo-blocking to show different products or promotions based on the user's location.
So it's kind of like how physical stores stock different items depending on the local demand.
Exactly. It's about relevance and targeting.
But what about governments? Why would they use geo-blocking?
Well, this is where things get a little more controversial.
Uh-oh.
Some governments use geo-blocking to control what their citizens can access online.
So it can be used for censorship.
Yeah, unfortunately, it can be used to block news websites, social media platforms, or any content deemed inappropriate or politically sensitive.
That's a bit concerning.
Yeah.
It seems like a powerful tool that can be used for both good and not so good purposes.
It definitely raises questions about internet freedom and access to information.
Yeah, for sure. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about the fun stuff, how to actually bypass these geo-blocks.
Now you're talking.
I've heard about these things called VPNs. Virtual private networks. Are those the key?
Yeah, VPNs are a popular way to get around geo-blocking.
Okay, so how do they work their magic?
Well, imagine creating a secure tunnel between your device and a server in another country.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
All your internet traffic gets routed through this tunnel, making it look like you're browsing from that other location.
So you're basically borrowing an IP address from another country.
Exactly. You're putting on a digital disguise to fool those geo-blocking systems.
I like it, but there are so many VPN services out there. How do I choose the right one?
That's a great question, and we'll dive deeper into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, so stay tuned for that. But for now, we've got a pretty good understanding of what geo-blocking is, why it exists, and even a glimpse into how to beat it.
Exactly. We've laid the groundwork for our escape from those digital borders.
So join us next time as we continue to explore the world of geo-blocking and arm ourselves with the tools to reclaim our online freedom.
We'll see you then. Welcome back to the AnzenGuard Podcast.
Glad to be back. We're diving right back into the world of geo-blocking.
Picking up right where we left off how to break free from those pesky restrictions.
Last time we talked about those VPNs,
Yeah, virtual private
it
networks.
sounded pretty promising for getting around these geo-blocks.
They're definitely a popular choice.
But there are so many VPN services out there.
So many. How do you choose the right one?
That's what I want to know. What are the key things to look for, especially if you're trying to stream geo-blocked content?
All right, well, first you got to think about server location.
Server location, okay.
Yeah. It makes sense, right? If you want to watch a show that's only available in the UK,
Yeah.
you're going to need a VPN that has servers in the UK.
Makes sense.
So the more server locations a VPN offers,
Uh-huh.
the more content you can potentially unlock around the world.
So variety is key?
Absolutely. Another super important factor is speed.
Oh, yeah. Nobody wants to be stuck with buffering.
Exactly, especially when you're trying to stream high-definition movies or shows.
Ugh, it's the worst.
Right. So look for a VPN that's known for fast and reliable connections.
Okay, speed check. What else?
Unlimited bandwidth.
Unlimited bandwidth.
Yeah, some VPNs put a cap on how much data you can use per month,
Oh, wow. Really?
which can be a real bummer if you're a heavy streamer or downloader.
Yeah, that would put a damper on your binge-watching sessions.
For sure. So unlimited bandwidth is a must-have.
Okay, unlimited bandwidth. Got it. Anything else?
Let's talk about security.
Okay, security is huge, especially when you're routing all your internet traffic through a third-party server.
Yeah, you don't want to take any unnecessary risks.
So what should we be looking for to make sure our data is safe?
Strong encryption is a must.
Encryption.
Yeah, make sure the VPN you choose uses robust encryption protocols like AES 256.
AES 256, that sounds serious.
It is. It's the gold standard for encryption used by governments and militaries worldwide.
Wow. Okay, so my data will be locked up tight.
Exactly. It's like putting your internet traffic in an unbreakable vault.
I like that analogy.
And another essential security feature is a kill switch.
A kill switch. That sounds kind of dramatic.
It is. It's basically a safety net.
Okay, how does it work?
It automatically cuts off your internet connection if the VPN connection drops for any reason.
Ah, I see. So it prevents my real IP address from being exposed.
Exactly. It's like a last line of defense to protect your privacy.
So strong encryption and a kill switch. Okay. Those are two biggies for security.
Absolutely. And besides the technical stuff, there are a few other things to consider when choosing a VPN.
Like what?
Ease of use for one.
Yeah, I don't want to have to be a tech whiz just to use a VPN.
Exactly. Look for a VPN that has a user-friendly interface. You know, intuitive controls, clear instructions.
So it should be pretty straightforward to connect to a server.
Yeah. Ideally, just a few clicks and you're good to go.
Simple and effective. I like it.
And don't forget about customer support.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
If you run into any problems, you want to be able to get help quickly and easily.
So responsive and reliable customer service is crucial.
Absolutely. So to sum it up, when choosing a VPN, look for server location speed, unlimited bandwidth, strong encryption, a kill switch, ease of use, and good customer support.
Got it. Those are the key ingredients for a solid VPN experience.
Exactly. Now let's move on to some of the other methods for bypassing geo-blocking that we touched on earlier.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we talked about proxy servers last time.
Right. How did those work again?
Well, they act as kind of a middleman between your device and the website you're trying to access.
Okay.
They forward your requests, masking your real IP address with their own.
So the website sees the proxy server's IP address instead of yours.
Exactly. But the catch is that proxy servers don't usually encrypt your traffic.
Ah, so they're not as secure as VPNs.
Right. And they can also be pretty slow.
So maybe not the best option for streaming.
Right. They might work for some basic browsing, but if you need speed and security, a VPN's a better bet.
Got it. Now what about the Tor browser?
Tor, the mysterious onion router.
Yeah, that one's a bit different. It's not primarily designed for bypassing geo-blocking.
Right. It's more about anonymity and privacy.
But can it be used to get around geo-blocks?
It can, to some extent.
Okay, how so?
Tor bounces your internet traffic through multiple servers all over the world.
Wow, so it's like a really roundabout way to get to your destination.
Exactly. It makes it really hard to trace your location. But all that bouncing around can make it pretty slow.
So not ideal for streaming or anything that requires a fast connection.
Right. But if you need top-notch anonymity, Tor is a good option.
Okay, one last method to cover smart DNS.
Smart DNS, what's that all about?
It's a bit more targeted than a VPN or a proxy server.
Okay.
Instead of routing all your traffic through a different server, it only redirects the DNS queries that are related to specific geo-blocked services.
So it's like a shortcut for accessing geo-blocked content.
Exactly. And it can be faster than a VPN because it's not routing all your traffic.
But does it offer the same level of security?
That's the trade-off. Smart DNS doesn't encrypt your traffic.
Ah, so it's not as private as a VPN.
Right. but it can be a good option if speed is your top priority.
So we've got VPNs, proxy servers, Tor, and smart DNS, each with its own pros and cons.
Yep, a whole toolbox of options for bypassing geo-blocking.
But it's important to remember that some streaming services are cracking down on these methods.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're constantly updating their detection systems, trying to stay one step ahead.
So it's a bit of a cat and mouse game.
Exactly. Which is why it's important to choose a reputable VPN provider, one that's known for its ability to bypass geo-blocking effectively.
Makes sense. Now, before we wrap up this part, there's one more thing I want to touch on.
Okay, what's that?
The ethics of bypassing geo-blocking.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a bit of a gray area.
Right. Some people argue that it's perfectly fine to access content that's legally available in another country.
Yeah, they see it as a way to break down digital borders and enjoy a truly global internet experience.
Exactly. But on the other hand, content creators and streaming services often argue that bypassing geo-blocking undermines their licensing agreements and revenue models.
So it's a complex issue with valid arguments on both sides.
It is, and it's important to be aware of those different perspectives and make informed choices about how you use these tools.
Well said. So we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive.
We've explored the ins and outs of VPNs, proxy servers, Tor Smart DNS, and even the ethical considerations of bypassing geo-blocking.
Hopefully you're feeling more informed and empowered to navigate the world of geo-blocking.
That's our goal, and in the final part of our deep dive, we'll look ahead to the future of geo-blocking and what it means for the future of the internet.
All right, welcome back to the AnzenGuard Podcast. This is part 3 of our deep dive into geo-blocking.
We've talked about how it works, why it exists,
Even how to get around it.
but now let's look ahead. What's the future hold for geo-blocking?
Yeah, is it going to get even more restrictive, or are we heading towards a more open internet?
It's tough to say for sure, but there are a few things to consider.
Like what?
Well, on one hand, you've got the entertainment industry.
Uh-huh.
They're pushing for stronger copyright protections and tighter control over content distribution.
Makes sense. They want to make sure they're getting paid and prevent piracy.
Exactly. And as streaming services expand globally, they're dealing with more and more local regulations and licensing agreements.
Oh, yeah, I had thought about that.
So that could lead to even more geo-blocking in the future.
So more of those annoying content not available messages.
Possibly. But on the other hand, there's a growing demand for a more open and accessible internet.
Yeah, people want to be able to access content from anywhere in the world.
Right. And VPNs and other tools for bypassing geo-blocking are becoming more and more popular.
So that could force content providers to rethink their strategies.
Maybe they'll move away from strict geo-blocking and explore other ways to manage their content globally.
So it's like a tug of war between control and access.
Exactly. And the outcome of that will shape the future of the internet.
Let's play a little game. What are some potential scenarios for the future of geo-blocking?
Okay. All right. I'll play.
What if geo-blocking gets even more sophisticated?
Oh, I can see that happening. Imagine streaming services using advanced algorithms to detect and block VPNs.
So it'd be like an arms race between the streaming platforms and the VPN providers.
Exactly. They'd be constantly trying to outsmart each other.
What else could happen?
What if instead of just blocking content, outright companies start offering different tiers of access based on location?
Like a basic tier with limited content available globally, and then premium tiers with more content for specific regions?
Yeah, something like that. It would be a way to honor those licensing agreements while still giving users more options.
A compromise, I guess.
Right. And then there's the whole rise of decentralized platforms.
Decentralized? What does that mean?
Think peer-to-peer networks or blockchain-based systems where content isn't controlled by any single entity.
So it'd be much harder to censor or block content on those platforms.
Exactly, because there's no central point of control.
Could we see a future where content is shared directly between users, cutting out the middleman and making geo-blocking irrelevant?
It's an interesting possibility, but it's still early days for those technologies.
So the future of geo-blocking is full of possibilities.
And uncertainty. But one thing's for sure, it's going to continue to impact how we experience the internet.
Yeah, it's a topic worth paying attention to so we can make informed choices about how we access content online.
Absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of geo-blocking.
We've covered a lot of ground, from how it works to why it exists to how to bypass it and even what the future might hold.
Hopefully you found it informative and maybe even a little bit empowering.
If you did, be sure to subscribe to the AnzenGuard Podcast for more deep dives into the world of digital privacy and security.
And don't forget to leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about geo-blocking and what other topics you'd like us to explore.
We love hearing from you. I'm Michael Reynolds.
And I'm Laura Wilson.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.